This video explores the philosophy and psychology of Batman. Why is Batman so fascinating? Superman is stronger, Spider-Man is more relatable. And yet, when you ask people who the greatest superhero of all time is, the answer is almost always Batman. Why? Because Batman is the personification of the shadow, an alchemist who transforms himself from a wounded orphan into a dark knight. His villains are Funhouse Mirror reflections, psychologically disintegrated and philosophical adversaries. Batman is enduring, elemental, and mythological. But Batman is also a tragic figure, fated to remain eternally in the dark alley where his parents are murdered. Come with me now as we explore the Platonic essence of Batman.
Wallace, Joey, come on, fast.
That's fine.
Fast.
Take it easy. Take it easy. Here you go. It's fine. It's fine. Now just take it and go.
I said, Joey.
Every story has its beginning. For Batman, it begins in the alley. A family walking at night, Thomas and Martha Wayne, their son Bruce. 2 gunshots ring out in the night, and Bruce's world turns upside down. The fall, the moment Bruce is touched by darkness. But not necessarily a corrupting darkness. It has both terrible potential to consume him, and powerful potential to transform him. In Batman Begins, Bruce is led to the darkness by his fear of bats. This is the first major psychological idea. Bruce's shadow is fear. The shadow is a concept from Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung's analytical psychology, a form of depth psychology concerned with the unconscious. It describes the unconscious part of the psyche that contains traits we reject or repress because they conflict with our self-image or social norms. Jung believed that confronting and integrating the shadow is essential for psychological wholeness. If left unchecked, that shadow can project outwardly, involuntarily revealing itself to others in startling and dysregulated ways. Christopher Nolan presents Bruce's shadow as fear, compelling him to leave the theatre and drawing him into the alley. After his parents are murdered, however, Bruce's shadow grows more fearsome and formidable. It becomes grief, rage, vengeance, and violence. This is where Batman's hero's journey begins. Bruce's experience in the alley is so profound that he never truly leaves. Like a hellspawn, he becomes a fiend, patrolling Gotham's alleys from the rooftops. This is an important way to understand Batman's dark persona as distinct from other heroes. Most heroes, even those wounded by loss themselves, eventually try to overcome and dispel their trauma, turning it into something positive and becoming a lighter symbol for hope and justice. However, Batman doesn't. He becomes the darkness, both psychologically and physically. He trains his body to achieve peak human physical attributes and capabilities: martial arts, strength, endurance, pain tolerance, stealth, and hunting, all so that he can effectively fight criminals. But this is only one aspect of Bruce's transformation into Batman. Bruce also undergoes psychological alchemy. Speaking of alchemy metaphorically, Carl Jung is referring to the process of psychological integration. Instead of repressing or denying the shadow, Bruce embraces it and reorientates it. His desire for vengeance becomes a commitment to justice. His suffocating anger becomes discipline and self-control. His appetite for violence becomes martial arts skills and well-directed force. His inner predator becomes the world's greatest detective and a manhunter. His tendency for thrill-seeking and gratification becomes stoicism and utilitarian will, and his fear of loss and the feeling of powerlessness that goes along with it becomes radical agency. Bruce agentically wills himself to become Batman, creating power from his own victimization at the hands of a street criminal. This is the most important idea of Batman. He weaponizes his trauma against the very forces that created it.
I see the means to fight injustice, to turn fear against those who prey on the fearful.
He dons the cape and cowl, thus embodying his shadow literally on the outside, to both symbolize the unity he now shares with his menacing shadow, and to strike fear into the hearts of Gotham's criminals. With the emergence of Batman now wearing his full Batsuit, there are 3 personas in play. Bruce Wayne, the wounded orphan, the original and true self. Batman, the integrated shadow, the Dark Knight and the world's greatest detective. The billionaire playboy, the decoy, the mask Bruce adopts for the rest of society. Bruce, the wounded orphan, is psychologically transformed into Batman. Like an alchemist transforming lead into gold, Batman is a self-made hero, an aspect of the character that I personally have always found fascinating and inspiring. It is precisely this mechanism, this alchemical transformation, that goes awry with Batman's villains. Batman's villains are Funhouse Mirror reflections of him. They too have suffered ill fate and trauma, only instead of integration, they have become disintegrated. Their shadow runs amok, wreaking havoc on themselves and the world around them. What makes them psychologically, and indeed philosophically interesting, is that they're often ruled by some particular aspect of their shadow that Batman too struggles with and must restrain and integrate. In this way, they are psychological and philosophical adversaries to Batman, just as much if not more so than mere physical adversaries.
You didn't think I'd risk losing the battle for Gotham's soul in a fistfight with you. Oh, you need an ace in the hole. Mine's Harvey.
Joker is a nihilist. Where Batman seeks absolute control over crime and death, the Joker is a complete abdication of moral responsibility, the exact opposite of Batman. The Joker's reaction to crime and death is laughter, and he antagonizes Batman for his own philosophical amusement. If Batman seeks to minimize crime and death, the Joker seeks to maximize it. Two-Face is a deterministic fatalist. Batman insists on the reality and agency of morality, in fact committing himself to the Kantian categorical imperative of "thou shalt not kill." Two-Face has become morally fractured by his trauma, and now believes the only sensible morality to live by is pure chance. Batman's morality is self-determined and rule-bound, while Two-Face's is predetermined and fate-bound. Penguin is corrupt. Penguin and Batman both come from aristocratic families, both abandoned in some sense. Whereas Batman seeks to prevent any child from losing their parents like he did, Tim Burton's Penguin tries to genocide the firstborn sons of Gotham City.
These are the names of the firstborn sons of Gotham City, just like I was. And like me, a terrible fate waits for them. Tonight, while their parents party, they'll be dreaming away in their safe cribs, their soft beds, and we will snatch them, carry them into the sewer, and toss them into a deep, dark, watery grave.
Penguin may be a sympathetic figure, but he is vindictive, corrupt, entitled, and motivated by personal gain. Batman would spare others from experiencing his pain, while the Penguin would amplify the pain of others for his own gain. Riddler is a grandiose narcissist. Batman is clearly intelligent, incisive, and a gifted problem solver, a core element of his detective skill set. Riddler is also very intelligent and incisive, only he has a massive chip on his shoulder about it, an inferiority complex. For him, the ultimate vindication comes in the form of outsmarting Batman, laying a trail of breadcrumbs to test Batman's intellect against his own. Only, where Batman has integrated his ego and uses his intellect to solve crime, the Riddler seeks to vindicate his own envious and wounded ego Batman has become strong and selfless, while the Riddler is fragile and narcissistic. Scarecrow is a sadist. Batman understands and respects the power of fear, and he uses this power to his advantage to fight criminals. Scarecrow also understands the power of fear, but instead he uses it methodically for his own sadistic amusement. Batman and Scarecrow have the opposite reaction to encountering fear, where Batman uses it to fight injustice, Scarecrow uses it to inflict injustice. Mr. Freeze is grief-stricken. Batman used his grief and forged it into strength through training and commitment to a higher cause. Mr. Freeze is unable to let go of his grief. Like his wife Nora, Mr. Freeze's emotions are in a state of suspended animation, unable to move forward, unable to transform himself into something positive. Batman is a prime example of post-traumatic growth, while Mr. Freeze has post-traumatic stress, living in a state of prolonged grief. Each of Batman's iconic villains are a failed attempt to integrate a psychopathology. Usually, these psychopathologies are caused by an adverse or traumatic event, like Batman losing his parents in the alleyway. This psychological disintegration results in philosophical conflict between Batman and his enemies: morality versus nihilism, Joker; fatalism versus agency, Two-Face; corruption versus justice, Penguin; narcissism versus altruism, Riddler; sadism versus empathy, Scarecrow; and grief versus growth, Mr. Freeze. Every night, Batman voluntarily gazes into the abyss. But what prevents the abyss from gazing back? What prevents Batman from becoming a monster like those he fights? It comes down to an important moral revelation. Justice is not the same as vengeance. Vengeance is surely Batman's greatest psychological shadow, and a common struggle throughout his many stories. Batman from the animated series is driven by a promise to avenge his parents.
It doesn't mean I don't care anymore. I don't want to let you down, honest, but it just doesn't hurt so bad anymore. You can understand that, can't you? Look, I can give money to the city, they can hire more cops, let someone else take the risk, but it's different now.
In Matt Reeves' The Batman, the psychological transition from vengeance to justice is the central arc of the film. He begins by introducing himself as Vengeance.
I'm Vengeance.
Only to hear it repeated from the mouth of one of Riddler's terrorists.
I'm Vengeance.
In that moment, Bruce realizes that his quest for vengeance is not stopping crime, it's inspiring violence in others. Batman realizes he must confront his own shadow and bring vengeance into the light where it can be transfigured into justice. In Batman Begins, the transition occurs much earlier when Rachel Dawes tells him that justice and vengeance are not the same.
My parents deserve justice.
Well, you're not talking about justice, you're talking about revenge.
Sometimes they're the same.
No, they're never the same, Bruce. Justice is about harmony, revenge is about you making yourself feel better.
This is echoed again by Ra's al Ghul when he tells Bruce that
the vigilante is just a man lost in the scramble for his own gratification. He can be destroyed or locked up. But if you make yourself more than just a man, if you devote yourself to an ideal, and if they can't stop you, then you become something else entirely.
And how does Bruce become more than just a man lost in the scramble for his own gratification? He adopts a moral code. He chooses the Kantian categorical imperative, thou shalt not kill. A categorical imperative states that you are to act only in accordance with that maxim through which you can at the same time will that it become a universal law. This is the axial line Batman chooses to separate him from criminals. This is the philosophical revelation. Without it, Batman's psychological alchemy would break and he would disintegrate and become a villain. This is why Zack Snyder's Batman in Batman v Superman is so unnerving. It isn't obvious at all that he is still a hero. He tries to kill Superman after all, and in the source material, The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, he appears to lose control and snap Joker's neck.
No more!
all the people I've murdered by letting you live.
I never kept count.
I did.
I know. And I love you for it. It's finally here, isn't it? The moment we both dreamed about. Quite how I imagined it, but we can still end on a high note.
The cost of being Batman as a symbol of justice is that his mission can have no ending. Gotham will never stop needing him. He cannot have peace, nor love, nor closure. This makes Batman a tragic hero of classical Greek mythology. The essence of a tragic figure is a noble person with a tragic flaw, destined to fall, evoking sympathy from the audience. Batman is flawed because he's bereaved and orphaned at the hands of a criminal and fated to fight crime, unable to ever give up being Batman. Christopher Nolan captures this tragedy in The Dark Knight when Harvey Dent says,
"You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain."
This line haunts Batman because it foreshadows his ultimate fate. I choose to interpret the ending of The Dark Knight Rises as Batman dying in self-sacrifice, fulfilling Harvey Dent's prophecy. I'm honestly not quite sure why Christopher Nolan chooses to show Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle in Italy after his supposed death. The way the sequence with the bat and the nuclear explosion is shown, the closure with the sculpture of Batman in Gotham City Hall, and the funeral sequence with Jim Gordon, Lucius Fox and Alfred, as well as the themes throughout the whole trilogy, all make it generally implausible and unfulfilling that Batman survived. Maybe it was pressure from the studio, or Nolan just wanted it to be ambiguous like Inception, I'm not sure. Either way, Batman dying captures the essence of Batman as a tragic figure who must sacrifice everything for a fatal flaw he did not choose. Philosophers often debate the ontological status of fictional beings. Do they exist? And if so, in what sense? Batman is not a historical figure, Bruce Wayne is not a real person you can talk to, and Gotham City is not a real place you can visit. It begs the question exactly who or what I've been talking about this whole video. My answer is, Batman exists as a Platonic form. In Plato's philosophy, the forms are the pure essence of things, non-physical, but yet more true and real than their material copies. In this video, I've been attempting to philosophically explore the Platonic form of Batman, the true essence of the character. The stories themselves appear to acknowledge this.
If you make yourself more than just a man, if you devote yourself to an ideal, and if they can't stop you, then you become something else entirely. Which is? Legend, Mr. Wayne.
This line works on two levels. It's a story beat, but it's also a meta-commentary on the true nature of Batman. Because unlike Luke Skywalker, Aragorn, or any other character with a single canonical narrative, Batman has no definitive version. Yes, there are unmistakable features. His parents were killed in an alley, he wears a bat costume, he fights crime, but these are all motifs that can be modified or reimagined around a single essential focal point. This is why I think Batman is mythological. Batman is more akin to a demigod, much closer to the Greek, Norse, Egyptian and Hindu heroes than modern fictional protagonists. Mythological figures expressed through countless stories, each revealing a different facet of the same essential archetype. Batman functions the same way. For me, this makes Batman a philosophical and psychological repository that contains stories and wisdom about fear, trauma, the shadow, morality, transformation, and justice. So what does Batman actually teach us? First, that the shadow is real. Bruce Wayne's shadow begins as fear. After the alley, it becomes grief, rage, vengeance, and violence. Bruce confronts his shadow and integrates it, becoming a personification of the shadow. Batman weaponizes his shadow and uses it against the forces of evil that created him. This is psychological alchemy, the wounded orphan transforming himself into a hero. But alchemy is fragile. Batman's rogues galleries are Funhouse Mirror reflections of Batman. Instead of integrated, they have become disintegrated and psychopathological. Joker is nihilism, Two-Face is fatalism, Penguin is corruption, Riddler is narcissism, Scarecrow is sadism, and Mr.Freeze is grief. Each villain representing a psychological or philosophical conflict with Batman, not merely a physical one. Batman's greatest shadow is vengeance, and he must learn to replace that vengeance with justice. He must adopt the rule, "Thou shalt not kill," to keep his shadow in check and separate him from the villains. But Batman is ultimately a tragic figure, his traumatic past creating a fatal flaw demanding constant self-sacrifice. Batman must become a symbol, the archetype of the integrated shadow, the hero who walks in darkness and masters it. A reminder to each of us that where there is darkness, there is also transformation, that we can reorientate our wounds into strength and spare others from the burdens we carry. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider checking out my other Philosophy of Heroes videos, and consider subscribing.